Nubs.
Welcome to the Underage Gangbang Cast.
Riley Nubs. Riley's playing the part of the priest this week.
So Josh, our theme music, please.
You didn't fucking... I'm gonna pull out my phone and I'm gonna hit shuffle.
Making my way downtown.
Whatever comes up is our theme music. No.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da. And won't you?
Apparently my phone's random connected to your stereo.
It happens because it's a Google Cast.
Okay, let's see. What's our theme song this week? Would be?
You should have bought some of these, by the way. These are also from the community for the dog.
$2 for that. My favorite chips. You want to try some?
No, I've had them before. I do not.
I'm not feeling it.
Okay, you get one more on the shuffle. Especially, oh yeah. Let's just get sad, guys.
I've heard this today is the greatest day ever known.
Right?
That's disappointing.
No. You're born, you live, you die.
Welcome to the Existential Crisis Cast. Your host, John Moore, who's gone upstairs singing and stuff. We take over hosting duties for the night.
Oh, damn.
We have our house man, Jim.
Yeah. Hello.
Stage manager, Ben.
I'm just a little bummed out because I bought a whole bunch of pencils and a whole bunch of erasers and I left them somewhere. The Jim was complaining about not having pencils.
I was complaining.
Well, I mean, we all need pencils, really.
What aren't you complaining about?
When I'm talking about myself?
Ooh, nubby pencil fuse. No, how much you like nubs? Right.
He wasn't there for that part.
Exactly. That's why I can involve me in the conversation. Safer. Alright. Who wants to give me a recap of last week?
So we went, we put our horses away in a group of trees after molesting them into complacence. Went and explored the town a little bit and found this huge ass trench of horses.
Well, first we found out that the Pope is dead.
Not the Pope.
Yeah, no, it was the Pope.
Was it the Pope?
Yes.
Yeah,
it was for sure the Pope.
Yes, the Pope. So the
in
Pope's
his
dead.
school, like,
the Russian
Babylon.
Orthodox Pope is dead and is Babylon. Then we found the trench full of
watching heathens drop, Jane.
dead heathens, dead horses, and there was some draft near, and so we decided to start picking them off, but got interrupted by
a spooky boy.
a Bruchel.
No, it's the spooky,
I didn't write it down.
It's the spooky boy. Yeah.
That's weird. A spooky boy, and yeah, so we after I was pummeled like a pumice stone.
You got that. You got beat like you beat your meat every night.
I did, yes. I was left bruised, battered, and yet still not satisfied. My good friends and colleagues, Boris here tried to kill Josh.
No, we continued the tradition of me taking more damage from the party than anything that we fight.
Yeah, so we killed the birds, had a kind of denouement, and then we're standing outside.
We went back to we broke for camp for the night.
Yeah.
So
and Montgomery Ward has a strange box, which only Josh knows.
Yes.
And then we went to break for camp. And while we were doing so, I was actually going to ask Ruben a favor for me. Because we've got some metal rope here. And I was wondering if you could kind of cut me say 15 feet off of it. And knock the end into kind of like a handle. It's a little bit beyond my area of expertise.
Would I need
depends on what you're making.
A
whip?
You would need armory melee weapons for that.
Well, can it be like an improvised whip? Because it's a long piece of metal cord.
I do not have armor.
do you have whip skills?
He does. And I was thinking it might be cool if you lit the whip on fire sometimes.
Oh.
And had a fucking flaming whip.
Well, you could always ask Montgomery Ward because he does have armory melee weapons. So he could show you how to do it.
Yeah, and I want to do this without Boris knowing.
Also, as we're going back to camp, I would have told told Eddie in an aside that Montgomery took something out of the carriage that we weren't aware of.
Oh, now this is what happened.
What was it?
It was just a box, I didn't know.
Are you whispering?
Yeah, no, like, just, like...
Hey, God!
Yo, guys, fucking Monty's got something! Found some cool shit! Monty, where's the cool shit? Bust it out.
Have you asked him about it?
No.
I mean, maybe we shouldn't be jumping to conclusions. If he kind of saved...
Well, he has it mapped.
Hmm?
And you have a bunch of conclusions printed on it, and you jump.
Thank you, the Phantom Toll Booth. Maybe you might want to talk to him.
Oh. So we should sit on this one for a while.
I'm great at sitting on things. Yeah, anyways, M-dubs, you,
While we have camp built, I'd like to continue reading some of that tome. Do I have to roll for that, or do I just announce it? Or?
You can just announce it to me, you can tell me what you want to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing while everybody's doing it.
I'm gonna, like, bandage what's left of my face. Just, like, covered in gauze and stuff, so I don't look like a walking skeleton.
Okay.
It's probably not gonna do much, but it's a little... At least on a distance, no one's not gonna, like, look at me.
yeah, you're the Invisible Man.
Is it, yeah, basically. No eyes, no nose.
I mean, we have eyes, you just need to figure them out. So, M-dubs, can you help me with that?
Oh, I heard that.
You guys? Okay.
I tried showing you how to make a whip. And you can roll on your, well, I guess you would need your blacksmithing? Yeah. Yeah. So if you pass your blacksmithing, then the whip is made. And yes, I know that's the thing is like a mixture thing. It's the same thing as someone saying, well, I don't have first aid, but I know how to make a bandage. I know how to make a sling. Well, no, you know how to make a sling in the gym, but like, it's just to keep the game like within the confines of
11 on 11.
No, so you pass. A whip is created.
I'm going to take the whip and kind of rub it in some lavender that I carry around. And
Tell me the lavender on your feet.
it's here. It's certainly here. I rub my clothes on it to give it kind of like a dusty hue.
No, you could do. You could coat it in the fluid from your lighter, because that smells like lavender and it is lavender.
Okay, yeah, I can.
I'll allow that.
I'll do that.
And you also do have a crate of lighters and wicks and things, so there's
Lighters
there's probably also like
I've got a couple of
like a little metal like naphtha container of lavender lighter fluid, but that's back at the. You got to go back to the.
Where are we breaking for camp?
So you're going back to the.
Yeah,
back
so
to
we
the
go back
caravan?
to our caravan. Should probably feed the horses and shit. So we're not just chilling out there in the tundra.
Okay. As you head back to the.
Sorry, one.
Yeah, sure.
question.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
I ask, hey, can I roll on this, or do I tell you what I'm doing?
Depends on what you wanted to do. You tell me what you want to do, and I'll tell you if you need to roll it.
Well, I was just seeing if I could get creative. So,
Well, that's what I'm doing right now.
the hidden lore that I have,
Yeah.
hidden lore and spirit lore. I also have geography of Russia.
Okay.
I was just gonna see if I could do something to help us figure out even what we were fighting there, that bird creature,
Mm-hmm.
or
We kind of know what it is.
yeah, we do kind of know what it is. We killed it.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So, did anyone write
Maybe
down
I'll just-
Bushala?
Sure.
Goshala.
Bushala, yes.
Boom shotgun.
Boom shakalaka.
I like spooky little
He's heating up! He's on fire!
It's a complaint from you two.
John's speaking.
Hey, how are you? So you think, because we like roasted the weird evil bird monster, do you think it would taste like chicken?
I don't know.
I don't know, considering that it's literally meat.
I mean,
I don't think
have you ever had KFC?
Low hanging fruit.
I mean,
Always.
I mean,
Have you ever tasted anything that tasted more evil?
I mean, fair point. But I'm saying within the confines of the game.
You're just coloring the memories. Maybe. The memories are painted by your nostalgia, Jim.
Then why did I eat so much of it?
Because you're a child. You didn't know any better.
Yeah. I didn't know any better. I didn't know it tasted awful.
No. No.
Sorry about that. Alright. Anyway. Frostpunk, living nightmare. The creature that we found out, that's what it's sort of.
We were discussing it. Since we roasted it, would it taste like chicken if we ate it?
Well, it's supernatural evil flesh.
That's
So-
what I'm saying.
I mean, you might find it particularly succulent, but I don't think anyone else in the party would enjoy
I'm
it.
not going to eat it, but like, what would it taste like?
Why don't you try some and see? I would say it tastes like chicken.
Okay. I just wanted to know that.
You know I spoiled it.
So do we make it back to the caravan, all right?
Okay, so yeah. As you start heading back to the caravan,
That's
things get like the light that's around you seems to kind of almost become restricted. Like you feel like as you're walking, like you can see like the moon is up, but as you start getting closer to the caravan, like there's like a few small little light from the various places of the village or the town. Sorry, but then as you get like further and further past back to the thing, sort of feels like the darkness is getting like.
It's encroaching.
So yeah, it's encroaching. It's like almost like strangling. And as by the time you get back to the caravan itself, you can't see further than like. Does anyone have a torch? Are you just using your lighter or your whip? Your lighter whip?
The
Flame whip?
No, I haven't revealed that I have the whip yet.
Well, I'm pretty sure everyone's watching make it in front of everybody, so it wasn't like this hidden.
Well, Boris would have been caught up in his book.
I think you made it before you went. Like when you went. Like where are you making it?
I thought we were at camp. I thought we were at the caravan.
Oh no! I thought you were making it like
No.
as. Okay, so you haven't made the whip yet. We'll say that the rolls have been created, but you haven't made it yet. Anyway, you've head back to the camp, and as you head back, the darkness is sort of closed in, and now you're basically, I don't know who is using a light source, I don't know who
I
has it.
typically do.
Yeah.
I
would leave it to my squire.
I'm able to command fire. I'm reading that book for 2 of these rendezvous.
Okay.
So,
Again, you'll roll on.
If you light me on fire,
And you're using your lighter as a focus.
yes, I am now. Which gave me +1 the other day.
Good.
So am I rolling on
Under a
magic or a specific magic?
Just magic. Plus
I
one.
said you should give them
So,
10.
roll to like
under 10.
higher orange or
Well, I do eventually want to talk to
Yeah.
them about getting metal spikes, but I can
Under 10. 6, 10, 12. Yeah.
So you expend 1 fatigue point and nothing else.
Alright.
confetti flies at
Alright, I'm still not very good at this magic. When does my magic go up? The more I...
Well, you've
Well, I
only
have
played
to
like 2
spend
sessions,
points.
so you have to spend, well,
Okay.
sessions to sessions ago, you took an ancient rock or a pebble from the bridge that I said was glowing with some sort of magic force. You haven't looked at that yet. That might be a direction for you to go for your character. That might be something that will give you a little bit more of a a benefit.
I'll take a look at it later.
I would suggest that, like, the way that GURPS works, you know, in terms of progression, it's usually a fairly slow process.
Sure.
So, for you, you've played a couple sessions. Normally, like, these guys have been playing for, like,
months.
25 sessions.
Sure.
So, and they've improved their characters probably twice
Right.
since they started.
It is notable, though, that I keep failing on rolls. Tying things, magic.
Right. Well, your character is a fairly,
Yeah.
in terms of other skills, you've got some higher skill, like the skills that you're 12 at, those are the skills that you're good at.
Yeah,
Right.
maybe I'll take
But so sort of remembering the skills that you have higher,
Yeah,
higher
okay.
but I mean the way that you chose to make your character was to make him a more brainy guy that was slowly going to learn something new. So the magic is definitely the direction that you want to go.
Yeah, okay.
You've been doing magic in game for like a week and a half.
Yeah, so it's going to be like, you know, fairly sort of slow.
6 hours.
And not a lot of people in this whole world
Like he's
use
doing
magic.
that.
It's sort of like it's usually used by a few
He's
people,
known about it for a while.
characters. So in terms of you being like someone who's learning how to cast magic, there might be a time in the game coming up where you'll meet someone who might mentor you a little bit, but it's not going to be like sort of
Right, that's
instant.
fine.
So the other thing as well is things like how long you take to focus. So if you say like I want to make a fire, like a small fire on my, and you might say I want to make a little metal bowl with a lid on it, and I want to make a fire created in that will last for 5 days. And then I'll say, okay, you need to, you know, using your runes and your ritual magic, you're going to create like a crucible and take hours and hours to create this object. And once it's made, and if you're successful, because it gives you a lot of, give you a lot of bonuses to make it, then you can keep it on you. When you want to make a light, instead of making it right away, you'll open up this thing and you'll hold it like it's still a magic lamp, but you're not just making it like willy-nilly, right? Willy-nilly, I like that word. Willis-nillis. Will-I-nil-I. Yeah, but anyway, and think about, like I said, that stone that I gave you,
Yeah, I wrote that
that's
down.
another
I'll
thing
check that with my
to
lawyer.
think about. So, as you get back to the camp, and not only does it seem like for whatever torch you're using to held aloft, and you don't have your magic didn't work and sputtered out, you don't have a light on your suit. I know who has the lighter,
I have one.
right?
Yeah.
So
It's a lighter though. It's very
either way, like it just feels like not only can you barely see like a few feet in front of you, but it also feels like there's like wisps of darkness.
Can I still tap into the dog glide?
Oh, you can see fine.
Okay.
You're not affected. Sorry, you're not affected by this at all. I was going to get to you.
Okay, cool.
You're not affected by this at all. And so you basically feel like as you're moving, like the shadows are just like almost like there's a fog, like a mist fog, and as you're moving, it's like as you put your hand like out in front of you, it sort of looks like the fingers go hazy, and you almost feel like you want to keep it as close to you as possible so that you can see all of your digits and all of your fingers, and like you guys start like getting closer and closer to each other. As this phenomenon starts to manifest, you start to feel more comfortable, more at ease, more. You feel kind of energized, rested, kind of thing. You can sort of see them almost as if, like, you know, when you go like in a game, you can change the FOV, like the field of view, from like normal to like 90 degrees, like quake vision they call it. You almost have like quake vision, and the fact that you kind of have like your peripheral vision is the cone is like moved in, so you can really sense around you a lot better, and you sort of see them kind of like getting closer and closer together, and they sort of, you can just kind of smell their vulnerability. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. Like
I kind of rub my the hilt of my rapier.
Sorry, you're what?
I rub the hilt of my rapier, just like kind of out of comfort, and I'll back to the dusty rose. And
Yeah. It brings you little respite. In these trying times, the respite is not. It feels cold and hard to the touch, and your fingers feel numb touching the cold metal.
Good.
So I can't read in this light, I imagine, anyway. So can I?
So the guys are still like walking towards it, like you're not in the caravan. You're just walking back to the caravan. This is sort of.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Walking back to the caravan. Got it.
Okay.
Well, we're taking the lead.
I'll take point so I can actually see where we're
Okay.
going.
I would rather have you behind us,
Okay.
so you can see where we're going.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Hold hand.
With then all of my crossbow, the whole time we're traveling there.
Okay. So I guess you're just going into the caravan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When we get in, we're lighting a fire in the hearth.
Okay.
I'll do my usual, just chilling on the roof.
It feels like you're trying to light the tinder, you're trying to light the coal, you're trying to light the gas, whatever it is that you've got in the thing, and it feels like everything is sort of like damp. Everything just feels damp. You feel cold. You feel like a bit of an ache in your bones. You feel none of this. Are you outside?
I'm outside. Yeah, taking a wash.
Okay. It just sort of feels like when you're camping and like everything inside the tent is wet and like dewy and just uncomfortable, and you're just grumpy and you're trying to really try. I would ask everyone to make morale rolls. We don't really have morale rolls. You can all roll in your willpower at a -1. Will is up here.
Pass. Even though.
Am I rolling through down or?
No.
Okay.
I failed.
Okay.
Pass.
Okay. So you sort of, you kind of cough and you can feel that you're getting a bit of, you maybe feel like you're getting a bit of a cold, but you just feel like your joints are achy, almost as if like you if it was you, Ryan, you'd be like, oh, I want to have like a double dose of neocitrin and get back in, get into bed, put the cover over my head. I don't care if it's 8 o'clock at night. I just feel miserable. I just want to go to sleep. And that's sort of how you feel. Like you're not, you feel very rejected. Your magic's not working properly. You felt pretty useless in that last battle. You kind of had to run away. Like it was really it's been a pretty crummy day for you all in all. So you're just both sort of feeling a little bit down.
Why do we fall down, Boris?
He's giving you a.
Generally we fall because someone pushes us, and we get up to push back.
I don't remember that line in Spider-Man.
That was from Batman.
Oh, okay.
So
Ben got that one. Why do we fall down, Dick?
Fucking hate you so much.
Good.
it takes you about 20 minutes. You're finally able to start a fire, but it doesn't really seem to light up the caravan in any way.
Like
it's sort of like a flickering light. There's not a lot of heat from it. You're just all of a sudden feeling very, even though you had that wonderful triumph over the Bashala, I guess it's sort of like feeling like you're really a minority here. Like you're really separated from like there's no population here, there's no town here. You guys are like camping essentially in the middle of the woods, and it's like.
Is it light enough for me to read my Bible?
You can use your lighter to read your Bible, yeah.
Okay.
And you feel like the words are kind of like difficult to read. Can you make a? Oh, you would realize this already. I can tell you this, but I mean these guys have to roll. You realize that again, Montgomery Ward is strangely absent from the party.
Okay. Did he like just sort of splintered off at some point? Or?
It was about you. I mean, you're trying to sort of recollect. It was sort of about the same time that you realized that you were getting a little bit more invigorated and the darkness was creeping in. That's about the same time that you sort of noticed that he was gone, but it didn't really seem like, he's gone. You sort of it kind of just slipped your mind.
Yeah.
And now you're sitting on top of the cabin, or I guess sort of like on watch, and you're like, shit, where the fuck is Monty? Like it really now set in that again he's disappeared and you don't remember him walking away.
Okay.
Like you sort of, when you try to recollect back, there was sort of like a feeling of.
It's a haze, I'm not sure when he split off.
Yeah, but you know he did. You know you remember him like walking away or moving away from the party a little bit, but it was in a way that like
subtle enough that it wasn't.
You just like at the time you didn't think like,
that's
abnormal.
But now it's just.
And now you're like, oh yeah, he totally vanished. Where the fuck did he go? And now it like really irks you.
Okay.
You guys can roll on, let's say, perception -2.
I failed.
Do you have any
Pass.
I got 11.
Okay, so you guys both realize, kind of like abruptly, that Montgomery Ward is not with you in the cabin.
Can I roll an IQ at a minus to try and recollect when, to try and think back to when I see him split off?
Yes, IQ -6.
Okay, so I'm rolling under 6.
Right, and the more that you try to remember, the more it makes like
less sense.
No, and it also seems, it starts to make like you're really getting very sort of I wouldn't say bestial about it. I feel like frantic, just kind of like, and you're kind of making these like these noises in your, because you're really getting angry, like frustrated with the fact that you can't remember, and it's sort of like bother. And so you're inside the caravan, and it's so you can hear this kind of like grunting sort of from outside. You don't, not a noise that you're really used to hearing, not a fapping noise. Yeah.
Subtle swearing in German.
So you are scared. Your character is scared for sure. Like up until this point, like before you join these guys, you're a pretty skittish guy, pretty timid guy. Then when you met the Sabbatarians and you met that guy on the boat, and you sort of felt like, ooh, these guys are interesting. And then you met these guys and they were like heroes to you. And you went to the camp and you met their superiors and you felt like safe. And then when you met that guy in the woods and he said, oh, go with them, like you gotta go with them. This is like your destiny sort of thing. You're like, wow, I really feel like part, you know? Part of.
He wasn't there for that.
Pardon?
He wasn't there for that.
No, but he met like, no, he, what do you mean?
No, he was in the woods.
He was in the carriage. Remember the carriage fucked off down the road?
No, and when he met the superiors, when he went back to your caravan, and he met those guys, like you met their bosses, and you met like all the people at the camp, and you met all the Sabbatarians, and you sort of started to learn a little bit more about like what they did and stuff. It's sort of like, I don't know, it got you, it got your flibber gibber all up in a...
Hot in the pants?
Yeah, hot in the pants, good word. It got you hot in the pants. Let's go with that.
Together, we died together, Joe.
Yeah, boy. Sabbatarians. Our logo is Christus, yes.
I'm just frustrated without... I've been messing around with the internet and I haven't done much with the Wi-Fi and it's bugging me out.
So, I'd like to take this opportunity to take a look at the glowing pebble from the stream.
From the what?
From the stream.
It wasn't from the stream. It was from the bridge. It was from that bridge. Remember that old bridge that you found? The ship smashed into the bridge, and I said there was a bunch of older pebbles. Like inside it, and you sort of found one that kind of.
Okay, I wasn't sure I picked that up. I let a ferry get away at one point, so.
No. You definitely. You sort of said like I said, there's this one rock that's glowing extra. It was old stone, and you sort of put it in your pocket, and you forgot about it.
Okay, so I have.
So hang on.
Regular things I got in the dish.
So just to let you know, most of the time, you won't have to like ask to roll something. You don't sort of say like, can I roll on this? You'll say, can I do this? And then I'll say, okay, if you want to do that, either I'll just tell you something, or I'll say, then roll on something.
So can I make more observations?
Yeah. So when you sort of like rummage in your bag and you uncover the stone, and it instantly bathes the entire inside of the caravan with like with a whitish light, and it's not necessarily warming, but it's very like comforting. Pretty instantly, not amazingly so, but it definitely comforts you quite a bit. Okay. And when you kind of move your hand close to it, the stone slowly takes a bit of a reddish hue. Not a like a dark red, but like a dusty rose, but more like an orange. I'd say more like an orange. But as you put your hand over it, and it starts to take on this darker color. Okay. It warms up the whole cabin to the point that it's like it's warm, and it sort of warms your hand a little bit, and you get that fatigue point that you used up. It is restored.
All right, great.
And you can almost sort of feel that it maybe even has some power that you can draw on. Like it's some sort of almost like not a generator, but it sort of feels like a battery of some sort. Okay. You don't really, it just feels very comfortable in your hand.
Alright, cool.
So, what are you doing?
Probably gonna keep watch, but should I like roll in will to see if I get frustrated enough to go look for Monty because I'm kind of in that weird state? Or am I still in control enough of myself to
I'm
like?
gonna let you decide if you want to go look for Monty. I'm not gonna
Okay.
tell you you have to go and look for Monty. I think you can make that decision. Your character can make that decision himself whether he would feel appropriately agitated to go or if he feels. I mean, I'd definitely say that. I mean, that when I told you, like when you saw the party kind of huddling together, and they sort of were. They kind of appealed. They didn't. You sort of felt like, why am I with these? Like, these guys are really weak. Like like I have to bail them out of these situations. Without me, they'd be dead. You know, they almost killed me. Like you definitely are feeling a little more lone wolfy in terms of like leaving versus staying. But again, that I'm not going to say like roll on X and that makes you leave.
Yeah.
If you feel like you got to go and look around, by all means go. I definitely wouldn't say it's out of character for you to leave.
Your best friend's still inside.
Yeah, that's immaterial at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm gonna like. I'm gonna like bang twice on the carriage roof and then hop down.
Okay.
Just to like get their attention inside.
Okay.
I put on my brass knuckles and yank open the back door.
Okay. When you open so you're where are you? Are you looking back into the cabin? Like what is your plan? What are you doing?
Sort of like I'm probably like a good few feet away.
Okay. So as the door
So
opens
it's sort of
and the
walking.
light comes out, all of the bandages just get burned off your face.
Okay.
And you just like that. And it hurts.
I still recognize him though. Right?
Well, you know
Okay.
he you know that he was burned down to the skull before, and he put bandages on it. But then when the light hits him, it just like burns it right, and you like
I
turn
would
away,
like
like hissing almost. Like it's not that bad, but it's bad that the bandages kind of just like
Melt. Yeah.
they're just gone.
Am I able to soften the effects?
You can you can cover the stone.
Alright, I'll come.
Yes. Okay. As you cover the stone, the light just vanishes, and instantly your heart gets chilled right away. Like you have to roll on the moment you close it off. You have to roll on your willpower at -4 not to reopen it.
Alright, so 4 off 11 is 7. And I got a
Yeah. The moment you cover it, you're just like nope, and you just like open it back up, and it's just like back to being like warm and cozy.
I hop out and close the door.
Okay.
I get up like I would be scowling if I had eyebrows left.
It's dark outside. I wouldn't have seen that.
I know. Like Monty's disappeared. I'm going to look for him.
What?
Just watch the camp.
Oh, right. Where'd he go?
I don't know.
Are you sure you should be looking for him?
Well, he's up to no good or dead.
I mean, he might be up to good. He's saved our asses a number of times.
No, it's just something's not right. Just trust me, it was a smart idea.
Maybe we should go with you.
You won't survive out here.
Just let you know, you don't have to roll when it's PCs. I mean, you can roll if you want to for yourself.
Overconfident.
Yeah, but like know that like usually when it comes to PCs, you can make the judgment. If you feel that you want to know what your dice would say, you don't have to follow the dice. Is what I'm saying. If you fail, you don't have to follow the dice.
Well, you might survive if it is there. No one exists.
So you know how to stroke my ego the way I like it. Alright, you
Make
stay
sure
safe
it's
up
not
there, buddy.
dead.
And I do our little secret handshake.
If I'm not
Roll the
back,
dice. Roll the dice.
if I'm not back in an hour, assumes the worst. Don't come looking for me.
Okay.
And don't eat my horse because a little shit.
It was one time. I ate a horse one time. Nice callback though.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
Okay,
go.
I'll play your part in a second. I just want to. So you get back in the cabin, I guess. Okay, so you didn't realize when you're outside the cabin. When you're out, when you get back in, you realize that like your willpower was probably reduced by 2 or 3 when you were outside, and you didn't really realize. You just got out, you were having a conversation, you didn't really realize how like even though you're with your buddy, like the moment he like sort of disappears into the darkness, and he just like vanishes. Like he steps one step and it's gone.
So I hop in like when you were a kid and it was nighttime, and you know there aren't like werewolves in the bathroom, but you still run up.
You got some heebie-jeebies anyway. When you step in, you notice that like Boris, who is normally quite, you don't really notice him. He's not really a very noticeable guy. He kind of just like fades to the background. You're always like, oh, you know, people step on him by accident, or like, you know, sit on his leg when he's sitting on a thing. Like, oh, sorry. You sort of see him, and he's just like, he's standing, he's sort of just kind of lost looking at this stone. He's holding the stone, and it's kind of like, think of it as like a white, smooth piece of granite. Like, it's not smooth, it's like a pebble, like a gigantic pebble that was like in a wall, and it's slightly, and it's glowing, but you see like in his eyes, there's just like this light, this like confidence, and like...
Did his hair go like...
Yeah, no, it's not that bad, it's just kind of like in his eye, you can just see that like he's like, it's almost like he's nourished by the fact that he's holding this thing. He seems like very, yeah.
Proud of you, son, keep it up.
Alright.
So I'm going to tell you that this stone is currently attuned to you.
Right.
It will give you a +3 to any magic that you cast.
Okay.
It's and it also holds 6 of its own fatigue, as you could say. Like if we're using, I'm just going to keep using the word fatigue so that it's interchangeable. 6 points, because you can use. Sometimes some things might use 1 point, some things might use multiple points. But I can also tell you that it is also attuned to the element of fire.
Right.
So if you start learning other, you've sort of, out of the books that you were given 2 books, correct?
Yeah. No, I thought it was...
Yeah,
no, the set holds 4,
Okay.
but you have 2.
You have fire and direct right now.
Right. And so you instantly gravitated towards the fire one, and so that the stone has sensed your sort of instant affiliation to that one over the 2, and it is kind of bonded to that initial fascination you have. So it might be able to, you think that you might be able to readjust it, but it's not something that's like you can do on the fly. Like if you were to do Earth, if you were to start reading the Earth book, it wouldn't give you the same kind of bonuses as it's giving you towards sort of creating fire and there are...
Can I try and like work with this stone? Can I meditate on this stone? Do I...
And these are all the things I'm telling you now are things that you sort of instantly know. You sort of feel it. Like you wouldn't know this outside in your character. I'm just sort of telling you, Ryan, so that when you're using the character, this is what... But it will give you... the more that you tell me that you're spending time like meditating on the stone or studying the stone or trying to get to the stone, you might learn more about it. The other thing I can tell you is it always creates warmth if you need it.
My character feel good.
Yeah, it always creates warmth when you need it, and it also creates a sort of a radius of light around you, and you can control when it's got to be uncovered. But when it's uncovered, you can sort of control how much radius it will create up to 10 feet.
Okay.
So it will give you like a 10-foot, like a 20-foot, I guess, it's 10-foot radius. So it's like 20 feet across of light.
Last time it gave me back some fatigue, so that too.
Right.
Seems to have.
Yeah, it seems to have some sort of. That was like sort of like an initial thing. Yeah.
So I think I will just keep upon next chances study with this stone or meditate.
Right. So what do you guys? Are you staying in the? Are you doing anything? Are you staying in the while you're in the caravan? Is there anything that you're doing?
The cards.
No.
I'm still his squire, so
Yep.
I'm just gonna let you make those.
Yeah, no, I want you to be working on yourself. It's being a knight of the dusty road.
Gotta work your
short
stones
order.
there.
Yeah. I want you to improve.
Well, I can meditate with these stones.
Hold your stone and meditate. Yeah.
No,
Well, he would probably also impress on you that like you're probably like I mean you've seen the Star Wars films. Right, of course, obviously. And when Luke first meets Yoda, and he sort of learns that it's sort of this dying order of these like super powerful beings. you're sort of like, I mean, he's not Yoda, but I mean, he's like, he's sort of the master, the one who's ordained, and you're the one who's sort of learning, and you realize that there's not, or at least from what he knows, there's only, oh, just put it on top of the dog otherwise. You sort of know that there's really, from all he knows, there's only 2 of you. There was 3 of you, one of them died, and it was one of them was evil and died, and he wasn't actually upholding the actual, like, you know, ideals of what Dustin Rose is, and sort of Jimbo's character is kind of being like revitalizing it, and sort of he's chosen you to be like his second. So it's like it's a pretty big honor as well. So sort of I think that you would impress that on him. That not necessarily that there's a lot of pressure, but like there's not a lot of you, you know.
I think I've been pretty clear.
Yeah. Okay. So as you start, where are you going?
I'm going to backtrack. Like, I'm going to try to retrace my steps.
Okay, so you start retracing your steps back into town. Yeah. So that the caravan is, I think the caravan is here somewhere.
No, it's over. Pretty sure it was over by the trees, but
yeah.
I think it's right here. No.
Well, this is the graveyard. There's trees here, and it's over here.
We marked it down where we hit it somewhere.
It's camouflage.
It's on one of them.
Well, I'll just put it here.
Yeah, okay. Lots of
anyway, so you sort of like, I don't know if you would head back into town or if you'd head like directly.
I'd head back like the way we
this is sort of the way you came.
Yeah.
Right, back.
I would be like backtracking.
So as you start heading back into town, it's only like you sort of surprisingly realize that there are a lot of, you're sort of very aware that there's a lot of spirits around. Mm. Some are visible, some are not. Most are like ghostly and quite evil in appearance. There are what you can see, like when you sort of look to your right and you look into the graveyard, you can see that there's sort of like not like a barrier, but like some form of like almost like an invisible sort of like, it goes from like the cemetery has like a sort of some sort of a lighter hue to it. The air has a lighter hue to it. The darkness doesn't seem to be pushing into the graveyard, and you can see a few spirits in the graveyard, and they're mostly like families of, and they're all huddled around each other, like looking out into the darkness. And then everywhere else around the darkness, it's almost like a little bit like Mardi Gras. Not that crazy, but like there's a sort of like spirits kind of interacting with each other, having like a, you know, appreciating the carnal delights, and sort of like, and you're having difficulty figuring out which ones are corporeal and which ones are not. Like you're sort of, whether or not you're stepping over a barrier or seeing through a veil into some like alternate dimension, you really don't know. But all I can tell you is that as this is happening, you realize that it was sort of, it happened so smoothly that, and it's in such a way that you don't feel scared, you don't feel like you want to run back and tell anyone, you don't feel like it's weird, you just feel like, oh, this is what's happening, and this is who I am now, sort of thing, or this is at least who I am aligned with, or this is a place that I'm comfortable in. That's better. You feel comfortable. Okay. You feel very comfortable, and as you walk, no one gives you a second glance at you.
No one, like, there's no.
Nope.
If Josh gets to fuck a ghost before I do, I'm going to be mightily cheesed.
No fucking ghosts.
You walk. You realize walking down the street towards you is the nun that stole your knife and stabbed herself in the chest. She's walking towards you and she's smiling, and her chest is kind of like still like gaping open where the wound was. Her face was all like quite drained of blood, and she's sort of stumbling a little bit, but she's smiling, and she's sort of like rubbing her chest at the same time, and she's just like,
how old is this nun?
20 something, 28, 20. She's like a mixture of like grisly and attractive at the same time. Like, you know, like when they say like like
Woman.
yeah, like when women dress up for Halloween, they would say like either like you're not a nurse, you're a sexy nurse, or when you're a nun, you're a sexy nun. She's like a zombie sexy nurse nun, like you know, like a sort of like she's like not nurse nun, but a sexy nun. Like she's kind of like, but you can tell she's very dead, and she's like. Yeah, she just kind of like, she just kind of looks at you a little bit as if she's kind of like recognizes you, but it sort of like passes.
Okay.
So yeah, so as you're retracing your steps, you see that there are spirits that are going in over the well edge and coming out of the well, like back and forth almost. And as you walk by the well, you look down and you can see there's some sort of maybe a port. It almost looks like a port. Like you can't see water. You can just see this like swirling, not like a portal, but like a mirror. Kind of, but it's reddish, brownish, brackish, like bubbling, muddy water with like things floating on it. Maybe some bones. And there's a horrible stench. There would be a horrible stench coming off of you. You could smell, but you can't smell. And yeah, and all this like, and spirits are coming in, and then you see like half dead creatures sort of sliding back down, and as they slide in, there's like a tss noise, and kind of almost like murmuring and blathering in delight as they're in this primordial sludge. Yeah, and as you start kind of continuing to head towards the town, I guess, or towards the bigger buildings, there seems to be some sort of a circle of people around the dead body of the Bashala. You can't see because there's people. There's like rings of different spinning rings, like concentric rings going around it, and each ring is going in a different direction. And you sort of like. You almost feel like you're kind of like drawn in that direction, and then you make a perception check. You get a bonus +1 to it.
Oof, no.
Fail, so. You sort of like there's like a tug of something that's familiar, but then it's instantly dismissed, and you just kind of find yourself drawn away into the revelry. And at this point, you don't really recall what happens. You're not dead, your character's not gone, but you don't really like, I'm going to go back to these guys who probably won't remember what happened.
Kind of like blacking out.
Yeah, you're kind of blacking out. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So, you guys aren't doing anything, correct? You guys aren't doing anything? No. An hour passes for you? I'm just letting you know an hour passes, and he hasn't returned.
Well, I would start to fret at like an hour.
Okay, well, I'm telling you now, it's about maybe 11:30 at night.
Oh, fret level.
And you're, yeah, he hadn't returned. He left at like 10:30, 10:15, and you've given him an extra 15, and he's still not back.
I'm still working with my stone in the corner.
Yeah.
Suit up.
Okay. Put the stone away.
Want to come with?
Yeah, alright.
I mean, you can stay in the caravan if you want to.
No, it's been a while.
I say this to Jim's character, his name is Eddie. I say I still don't have a very powerful weapon other than this.
You do have a powerful weapon. It's your heart.
Okay.
Just slap you.
Yeah.
You hear it off of this.
The only thing a knight of the Dusty Rose must keep sharper than his rapier is his wit.
I'll tell you, I can use my fists, but that's about all I have. The fists and the shield.
Well, you've got the rapier too.
Yeah, there was a rapier.
You've got a rapier, yeah. You wear
rapier
kind
of
of
the Dusty Rose.
A rapier of the Dusty
Right,
Rose.
okay. Alright.
And it is
right here.
Yeah.
So I'm loaded up.
Alright.
Alright, I'm gonna suit up.
Okay.
Can we do it in a montage?
Yeah, can we just skip the montage? So
It was awesome.
So who's taking point? What's the thing here? What's the
I'm going to be taking leads with my
okay.
knuckles on and the Dusty Rose lighter.
Okay.
I guess we probably should make a torch.
I'm going to unshear the stone a little to get us some light. And
So you're stepping out first and then unsheathing the light, or are you going
I'm
out?
going out first. Yeah.
He's
Okay.
going out first.
So you step out, and there is like the lighter does not do anything. Like it's lit, but there's nothing. There's no light coming out of it. Like it just looks like an LED that's on the dimmest setting. That you're like, is this thing on? Like you put your hand over it, you can't feel any heat. Like it's like
Wow, I close it, put it away.
pretty miserable. Your willpower is reduced by 3 points just as you step out of the thing.
You shrivel a little.
It's called shrinking.
So I step out
Your balls are strapped up into your
got my
torso.
shield and I
Upon stepping out of
unsheath
the
the stone
carriage.
a little. So
How much do you unsheath the stone?
about a quarter of the way I can, just because I know he's out there somewhere and it burns him.
Okay.
So
So as you step out, again, your willpower is reduced by 3 points. Don't you have to write it down? Just I'll know everyone's is reduced by 3 points. As you unsheath the stone a little bit, a beam of light, a beam of warmth, a beam of comfort, sort of envelops the whole party, and everyone within about 10 feet of you is no longer. It has a reduction of willpower. You feel instantly like almost like the tables are turned. Not that you're like protective of him, but you all of a sudden you sort of feel like equals. Like for the first time, you've only met him a couple sessions ago, or a couple days ago, a couple weeks ago, but you've always, like I said, sort of treated him as like, this is this guy that I've got to like look after, and I'll train, and he has potential, but it's going to be months before he is able to kind of be on his own. And you, like I said, you don't feel like he's like on charge. It's just sort of like he's got this like natural affinity to the whatever the fuck this is. Yeah, he feels like a part of it. He feels like you're like, oh, he's doing his part, and now I can do my part because he's here. Sort of that's the level of comfort you feel.
I take off my weighted wrist wraps and leg wraps.
Okay.
I go all out just this once.
Whoa, wow! You're getting what's that
Forgive
chamber
me,
called? That in Dragon Ball Z they go into that chamber that lets them train. Yeah, that's it. You have to roll willpower at -4 to not unsheath the entire stone.
okay.
It just doesn't feel right. So like,
I got my son.
okay, so you don't have to, but you have a strong urge, a real strong urge. You're like, why? Why wouldn't I?
Okay.
You don't. It's fine. So you get out behind them, and you're bathed in this light as well. Where would you like to go? I can tell you that you can only really see within like a 10-foot radius, and that 10-foot radius is only because his stone is 10 feet.
I think we should go back to where the caravans are.
Just before we go, what language are we speaking again?
Russian.
What crap here?
Common.
Just before we go, I can unsheath the stone more, but I have no idea the effects. Something to consider.
Alright. We'll keep that up our back pocket.
Okay.
So as you're leading, you're sort of like you're traveling very slowly because you can't see like much less like rocks or the path or anything. You're kind of like walking. Oh, there's a rock. Oh, there's a tree, and kind of like trying to like wend your way back the way that you the way from whence you came, like back up the path. I'm assuming you're traveling the same way. You're going to go back through town.
We're going to go the
Yeah. Okay. So it takes you maybe like what normally took you a couple minutes takes you close to 15 or 20 minutes to get like just to the entrance of town. Again, you don't see any of this, like what you saw, the spirits, you don't see any of that. All you see is just blackness, darkness, that's it. There's nothing there. And as you're walking, as you start walking into town, like back, do you know where you're going? Like
we're going towards where the caravans were. That's what I assume, Monty.
Okay, right. So as you start walking towards the center of town, the darkness starts like eating into that 10 feet of warmth that you have. Like even though you haven't sheathed the stone any, the light is getting like, and it starts to like just start to dim. Like the stone you're holding starts to kind of dim a little bit.
Okay.
Keep a steady hand, Boris. We've got this.
So I hold out the stone, just to everybody's attention, and keep walking.
Okay. It starts getting closer, and the darkness is getting like, and you start to sort of, now maybe your willpower is like down by a point. You're starting to kind of lose a little bit of confidence as you start walking into town. You start kind of feeling not super confident. You're like, maybe we should go back to the caravan. Like, and this is, I don't know. Like, sort of, you're just feeling like you're leading. You're sort of feeling like some self-doubt. Like, not only are you feeling like you're feeling weird because you're feeling like I shouldn't have bought these guys out here. You're like, I should have done this on my own. But you also realize with this like sudden like realization that you wouldn't be able to be out here without him being here, and that also makes you feel really weird because like you're not, even though you're a jovial guy, you're a leader, and you're like a party member. You also you sort of fashion yourself to be better than everyone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're very sort of not arrogant, but like very overconfident. Right. So yeah. So you definitely, but normally like you don't. It's not something that you like. That you second guess. It's just like just who you are. But now you're like so sudden like second guessing your very core skill, like your very core confidence is sort of faltering.
I'm gonna look back at these two guys and smile.
Yeah. He doesn't look very happy.
So I can't resist unsheathing the stone to half now to see if I can get back some of this.
It slowly pushes back a little bit, but you can still feel that it's like pushing like for sure. Yeah. Just as you're walking towards the center of town, it's getting more and more
Impressive.
Yeah, oppressive.
So I'm going to tell I say to you guys, our light source is not going to last long now.
Well, then we'll have to be quick.
We speed up.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So we did broach the front, right? You said we were.
Oh yeah, you're about here.
All right.
You're about here.
Okay.
You're about here, and this is where you're going.
Oh shit! I thought we were going. Oh, that's the fountain.
That's the well.
Yeah, it doesn't occur to me to look at the well.
Well,
I wouldn't think about it.
Yeah, and no one really does. There's not.
I think
really...
there's so much happening. My guy wouldn't even tune into any sort of spirit sense of the well.
Yeah.
Just trying to watch that we don't all end up in darkness.
Yeah. As you walk past where the well is, the stone flickers and it goes, and it just for about what feels like 4 or 5 seconds or an eternity. There's no light to the stone at all, and your willpower is reduced to 3. Everyone's willpower is reduced to 3, and for a second you are like immersed in like howling, utter sheer madness. Then the stone kind of flickers back slightly, and it's sort of trying to like push back against the darkness. And Ryan, your hand is like on the stone, and you like as this is happening, like you just like you can't stop from like showing the stone, and you just show all of the stone, and you put your hand over top of it like this, and you can feel like your fatigue getting like sucked into the stone, and your fatigue goes from 10 down to 5, and then the stone just goes like this, and there's like a 15-foot radius around you now, and there's like it's almost like a beacon, and all your willpower is restored and is actually buffed by 3 points. So now whatever your willpower is, you can add 3 to it. Again, just remember these things. You don't have to write this stuff down. This is just to sort of to remember.
But that did cause fatigue.
Yeah, your fatigue is down to 5. Like you didn't even try to do it; it just like sucked it out of you, and it's back to being in its full glory. But you almost feel like your hand feels like it's fused to the stone. Like you can't pull it off. Like you're attached to it, and the light is shining like you're like like when you take a flashlight and you put it under your hand and you can see your bones through it. That's what your hand is. Your hand is like a skeletal bone, and your fingers are, and the flesh between your fingers is just like exploding with light. It's like this, and you're just almost entranced, and you're just like you're almost stuck in this like walking, you know, rigidly, not even realizing what you're doing, just kind of like set in this trance, and everyone is kind of around you, like holding onto your shoulders and walking with you as you're walking deeper into the madness, I guess.
Heart of darkness.
You still can't see much, but now, like on the now because the radius is so big, on the edges, you occasionally see what looks like to be like a hand, like push into like a blackened skeletal hand, like push into the radius as if it's reaching for the stone. And as it starts to push in, you just see it like blister into fire, and then just completely turn into dust. And then like the arm withdraws, and the hand is like gone from it. And as you start pushing further into towards where the stables are, these hands are coming. Think of it as like you're in a ball of energy, and everywhere, all around you, above you, there are like talons that come in as if there's something flying or winged above you that's going in. And the moment it gets within like the first couple feet of the inside of this sphere, it just you see it sometimes like it sort of blistering. Then it'll all just turn to dust. Some of them start blistering and catch on fire, and then get like repulsed out of the sphere. And you're just kind of like pushing forwards further, deeper in. You're all pretty scared. You would be probably failing, you know, willpower checks, but because you sort of feel like really anchored to the stone and to the situation, and you're kind of immersed in this feeling. As you start coming closer, you can feel that there's a circle of people that are kind of like as you start walking into where this circle of people are, they start like this chain of people just start melting and burning and breaking away, and you're able to start like moving into the space, and inside the space you can see like it's sort of like lit up dimly, I guess, by the edge of the circle, like you're having difficulty walking. I don't know if people want to walk further, but what you see is like half a circle. Let me draw this. It's like half a circle of people, like different rings of people, and this is not good. I need something that, yeah, this is good, this is empty. So it's like, here's your ball, here's your guys in it, and there's this like circle of different concentric circles of people that were dancing around the center. You're here, and these are all like burned away and like pushed away, and these people are all starting to spread away and like sort of like splinter away like motes of light, motes of darkness. And in the middle, you see the remains of the Bashala that you guys destroyed, and sort of like half like absorbing pieces of the Bashala, you see the doctor, and he's like sort of dancing with this like dead nun that you guys saw stabbed before, and like their bodies are like fused together at the face, like his face is fused against her face, and their bodies are like strung pieces of taffy, and their fingers of like goopy flesh attached to the entrails or whatever the fuck the Bashala was reduced to when you exploded it. And there's just their like faces are just peeled away and like pushed, and you can see skin like slowly like encase the doctor's face and his head, and then slowly pull away again, and then go back again, and like pull parts of his skull you see start like breaking off and liquefying and becoming part of like whatever this liquid is, as if they're all becoming homogenized into like a gigantic bulbous mass. So that's what you want.
Neat. What the fuck? I turn on my cross.
Okay. There is an explosion
Of Christianity? Of Catholicism?
Well, no. Can you roll your holy, please?
I can. It's a pass.
Okay. So the stone that you're holding basically like becomes almost like a small sun. Like it sort of erupts. What is your holy stat?
11.
Okay, your holy stat is now 15.
Nice.
if you didn't have a holy stat before, your holy stat is now 10. So holy is a new attribute that only certain characters unlock. So yeah, you have strength, dex, IQ, blah blah blah. You have what's called HL, and that's now at 10. So there are special items that use holy. If you didn't have, I don't know if your character had a holy already.
Yeah, I have 10.
So now you have 12. Your holy stat is being increased.
Josh and I are going to have to kill each other in the end of this campaign, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Well, Josh is sort of like whatever was sort of left of his body is kind of not scattered or destroyed. He's not. I'd say like decorporealized is the best way to put it. Your character, keep your character sheet. Like it's not. I'm not going to take it away from you, but like you're like it's almost like everything in this whole like around you within about 100 feet is basically turned to like dust. It's just like, and the whole space, very space around you is kind of like for a split like. And now remember when I said like before, like it's pitch black and you couldn't see anything, and you could sort of vaguely see these things. Now it's like complete and like whiteness. Like everything is white. And everything is like you can't see, like it's like darkness, but it's sort of like white.
Can I roll an observation in this time to see?
You cannot see anything. You're completely, like think of it as being in like a white room. Like it's just everything's white. Like the flashbang is being exploded in front of you.
Okay.
Like you're still holding the stone, and the stone is like it's still like almost feels like it's the source of the light. And when you kind of try to look back, I'll let you roll observation.
Sorry, I keep going. Under 12.
Critical. You don't really notice anything other than the light. It's just this light. You could roll observation as well. Okay, so you sort of like look back and you see that like Jim's character he's kind of standing there with like the cross, like I don't know if you'd be holding it or if you put your hand on it, if you just like and sort of like behind him is like a silhouette of like a light, like a being of light. You don't really know. It doesn't look like a man, it doesn't look like a woman, it's just like this sort of like, as if the opposite of shadow. Like, you know, like there's a light in front of you and then behind you there's that dark shadow on the wall. There's this like huge white figure, and it seems like the edges of the figure are kind of like ethereal, like kind of like, not angelic, I'm not going to say like angelic and like wings or anything like that, gossamer-like, but just like the edges are very vague and you can't really see where the shadow begins and the figure, but you feel very like, humbled and like inspired at the same time. You sort of like again you're not out of control of your character, but as the light sort of seems to fade slightly, you're all not woken by the reverie, but it's sort of like you all blink your eyes or you open your eyes and the sun is rising, like from the east, and the darkness is like it's now like 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. You don't remember this much time passing in the space between you walking up from here, walking anywhere. You don't feel tired. You don't feel. You don't feel drained. You don't feel. Dejected or sad or anything, but it's just the three of you alone standing in the middle of the town, and remember that what's that thing called, that pyre that was sort of glowing is completely out, and a light rain starts to fall.
Sorry for destroying you.
It's cool.
Pull yourself together, man.
I mean, you should probably go see what's left of me.
I assume nothing.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's no, like, the horses are gone, everything that was here is gone, all the blood is gone, like, it's like scrubbed clean. Everything looks very clean, everything looks really, very, clinical, I guess the easiest way to put it. You do notice that the strange caravan or the strange carriage is missing.
I turn off the cross.
Oh, you look down and it's actually off.
Do you guys remember what just happened?
I just remember white light. That's all. Where's a doctor?
There seems to have been something taken away from this area. Evil, but also crime and...
We should start a cleaning business.
So as the sun has come over the horizon, like the stone that's in your hand was cold, and the moment the sun rises, it starts to warm up again in your hand just slightly. It doesn't glow or anything other than like a bit of a comforting glow, and your fatigue is restored back to 10. You're back at your normal 10 fatigue. The stone kind of like dims for a split second, and you sort of get the 5 fatigue back.
Okay. I wonder if anybody else, if I can help anybody else revive their fatigue, or invite them into the stone sort of glow, or see if that works.
Well, everyone is already, I would say they're already pretty restored. I can tell you though, like safely, that is probably something that is in the confines of possible in some way. I can't tell you until it's needed or until you try it again, but something to keep in mind that might function.
Okay.
You definitely feel, even though you don't really understand what happened either, you no longer feel helpless. That's the best word. You feel kind of confident. A little bit like you have a place, you've found like the jigsaw hole that your puzzle fits into.
Right.
You know, and you might not necessarily know still what that piece looks like and what the edges of that piece look like, but in terms of feeling that like, oh, I'm snug here, and this, I'm not stepping on anyone's toes, it's like perfect sliding piece, that sort of how you feel.
Should put that away, but keep it close at hand.
Okay. So because it's daytime now, right? We established that?
Yeah.
It is daytime. Yeah. I think maybe we should check back at the caravan to see if the doctor's there.
Good idea.
We go back.
Okay. You head back, and all of the broken places and like crap that was around sort of doesn't look fixed, but doesn't look. It just looks deserted now. It doesn't look
eerie.
Yeah, it doesn't. There's no weird shadows or anything like that. It sort of just feels kind of empty, just empty. You head back to the caravan, and the caravan is there, and Monty's horse is missing.
Herr Doctor? I like poke my head.
There's no one home.
Dios mío. Did I just like I'm going through emotions right? Did I kill the doctor?
It's not an explanation that makes sense. Or maybe he's just vanished from this place.
Yeah, vanished. We should probably investigate a little more, guys. Back to the town.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very shaken up by this.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely would be probably pretty.
The doctor's probably the closest thing you've had to a friend since you started all of this, because everyone else keeps dying.
Why does everything I love die?
Yeah. You hear a spectrally voice in the distance. Don't eat my hole.
Maybe you should leave it right now. Maybe you
should. Okay, you guys are back.
Alright, well I think we should go, there's the big building, like the foundry building. I think we should take a look in there.
Alright, yep. Okay. As you're heading towards the, as you're heading back into town again, you can roll an observation roll.
Pass.
Okay.
Like 4.
Well, that's you notice something in the mud that you sort of think may be familiar, but you're not really sure.
Oh, well, if I'm not sure, I'll walk on.
Yeah, that's
no.
okay.
I go reach and try to pull it out.
So you dig in the dirt, and you pull out. It looks like to be like an open, empty doctor's bag with nothing inside it.
Is it like, do I recognize?
Yeah,
the doctor's
yeah.
bag?
It's the doctor's bag.
Well, all spare and love and war, all that. Let's keep going. Would the doctor's bag fit in my purse?
You could replace the doctor's bag.
Like replace.
You could replace your purse with the doctor's bag if you wanted to.
I pour my stuff out of my purse into the bag.
Okay.
Flashing it around me.
So yeah, they found your
corpse.
Your bag.
Okay.
Your doctor's bag.
My doctor's bag.
Sorry, just 1 second. I want to look something up. Wi-Fi is not working.
I kind of throw the bag down, like my purse down, too, when I'm done emptying stuff from it.
I can't say, I should hold on to that maybe.
If you
An
want.
extra bag. I think I was just carrying around a tome of books, half full.
Okay, yeah.
Alright, I pick up what I assume was once a useful purse.
Yeah, well, since I've thrown it on the ground and relinquished my possession of it, does that mean it's dirty now?
Which?
The purse.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's muddy.
Right, I got a muddy purse.
Yeah.
What were you carrying around the time?
Literally everything I own.
Okay, good. A nice big muddy purse.
As you start like walking towards the foundry, you see a man walk out of the woods from like the right hand side of the here's where you are. This is where the foundry building is. Here you're kind of like you're walking just past the well and like past the train station here. And sort of like walking, here's like the doors to the foundry, like on this side here, and sort of this is where you found the doctor's bag, and then like walking sort of I guess along the train tracks. You don't know whether or not he came out of the tunnel or not, but it's a very well dressed man. He's got like green hair that's like slicked back on his head, extremely handsome. Yeah, it's Jared Leto, that's right. He's wearing a waistcoat that looks like it's made of this immaculate, like strangely knit tunic, fabric of some sort. He's smoking a pipe. And you feel like you've met him before, but also not. He doesn't look like anyone you've met before, but you sort of you feel like he's familiar, and when he starts to talk, you realize that it is I guess the Lord of the Forest, but he has taken on a very normal human form, and he looks and you've never met him before. But you sort of, he kind of smiles, and he doesn't. He's wearing a small hat on the top of his green hair, and as he looks at you, he kind of nods at the two of you, and then as he sees you, he kind of like takes his hat off, and he just kind of gives you like a little bit of a bow, and then like puts it back on, and he says, "I see your soul has been warmed. I'm glad that you decided to stay with your new friends. There's much for you to learn, and I will be there to guide you along the way. But for now, you must know that your friend is in an interesting space. Do you remember when I gave him cuffs of vines to wear?
Yeah, it was pretty memorable.
Those have served to anchor what little shred of goodness and humanity that is left in that tortured husk of an incorporeal presence. And that anchors him, and use the word very loosely, it would be much more appropriate to this physical realm. I come to you now because I've been watching, and I could not keep an observational view only. I had to involve you in a decision that is not one for me to make. It is not really one for you to make either, and it is not one that he who needs to make the decision can make. The binds, the power that anchor your friend to the physical realm are what places him in the immeasurable pain that he is currently in. He is gone. What little you know of him is gone. But the only thing that exists, the human part of him, the part of him that you would loosely identify with, is in constant agonizing pain, because the evil that carries his bones, the bones that power the corporeal form that is your friend, is so unavoidable. There is no further place for him here but those cuffs that I placed upon him to keep you safe, and have still kept you safe from him, are the only things now that are letting him go. The reason why this is difficult is because he is part of something much, much, much more powerful and deadly and incredibly dangerous to this world, and especially to you, than anything you've probably faced. But keeping him, so this is the choice. Then he holds two green cuffs in his hands, and you can see, like, within the cuffs, there's like, the air is sort of turbulent, and you can see that there's like, every once in a while you sort of see like a hand, and it's like the fingers are the digits are prestidigitizing. Thank you. And then you see them like try to grab one, and you can see one of them like breaks one of the knuckles, and then he like keeps the cuffs apart, and you can see these strange hands in there prestidigitating the air, like this. He says, if I keep these here, all of the good that is left of your friend, which you are unable to interact with in any way, you're just keeping him locked to this realm, and you're keeping him locked to the pain that he is in. And he will, and the goodness of him, the memories that you have of him are trapped essentially within this pain. So one of you, whoever was his closest friend, must break these cuffs. I cannot do it as the creator of this magic. But know that by breaking these cuffs and setting him free, you will essentially be finalizing the step to digging your own graves. So you do good, and you also are taking on the biggest challenge you've ever faced. And so it is up to you to decide. Do you keep him here, trapped in his pain and anger, agony for the rest of his existence, the good part of him, locked to this realm, essentially nailed through the hands or through the heart to the earth in constant agony? Or do you let what little humanity that is left rest at peace, and let whatever the remainder of him that is still the powerful force that is behind him essentially complete its ritual and become the greatest foe you've ever faced?
My religion and my morals are killing me right now. Out of game. As a religious man, I know that suffering brings you closer to God. However, he was, as mentioned earlier, the closest thing I've had to a friend since my mental death.
Yeah, this is not a decision that I would make anyone roll on. It's a decision that either, I would say that if anyone's going to make the decision, your character will probably make the decision on his own, but because your decision or the decision affects the whole party, you guys have to choose what you want to do. And if you, well, we'll see. Like, I'm not going to give you pros and cons. You have to just decide what you would do.
I don't really understand the game dynamics. I mean, if we kill him off, does he have to sit around and wait till we reincarnate him or whatever?
No.
Oh,
No, I'm dead. Then I rock a new character.
okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, how falling apart was he in the last little while? Can we even get him back a corporeal body?
Probably not.
I don't foresee that as being a realistic option.
Yeah.
Unless we somehow...
It's sort of similar to Raben's becoming a master vampire and continuing to play with the party, even more ridiculous in terms of, I mean, if you wanted to find him a corporal body, you could definitely take the game in that direction for sure, but that would become your focus for the next probably 4 to 6 months of gameplay. Like, that would be what you were going to be going and doing, and you wouldn't be doing, your other mission would take a back seat while you went and did this, which is fine if that's what you want to do, but it's, yeah, I can tell you, like, fairly confidently that it wouldn't be an easy, like, oh yeah, I'll just walk down to the thing and like get a new body and like pour him in and he's good to go.
Are you guys okay if I make this decision?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I walk over to Agronus and kind of like under my breath, kind of mumble, how would I break the cuffs?
He just says, you have already, and you look and you see the cuffs are broken, and you just like hear like this big sigh, and then your character just like drops to his knees and just starts like crying. You know. Big moves, man.
I'm sorry for killing you.
Doesn't
sound fun.
I knew the path I was going down.
Yeah.
I said the rest. It's fine.
Yeah, so, and then you sort of like, yeah, and Agronus kind of like, so now you can roll on Spirit Lore. Hidden Lore, Spirit,
Oh, yeah,
Spirit, the Spirit
awesome.
and Demon. There's one Demon and one Spirit,
They're
right?
both 12.
Okay.
Then you get that one. Even more.
Well, he's not. Well, then roll spirit lore.
I did get that one.
Okay, so you know instinctively that this Agronus character that these guys are talking about, he is a Leshy, as they're called, Leshy. The Slavic term is Lesovic, and they are basically it's sort of like a creature that is like the lord of the woodlands, and you know that his natural form is of a gigantic tree, but he can take the form of either like a man with antlers, like a sort of a half elk creature, or he can take the guise of a normal human and walk amongst humans fairly unnoticed. And you know that they are immensely powerful, and you also know that the tales say that anyone who befriends, like it's not easy to befriend a Leshy. It's one thing to be respected by them, it's another thing to befriend them, and if you befriend them, they will teach you the secrets of magic.
Okay. So I'll pay attention to this Agronus guy a little more.
So he basically, sort of tells you that he's going to take his leave of you and leave you to your grief. You have much preparation to do. And he also tells you that whatever evil was in the foundry and in this town has been utterly cleansed by whatever transpired here, by the faith of the combined faith of the party standing in front of him. And he also sort of cryptically tells you that do not try to create the magic. Do not try to create the energy. Try to create a solution to a problem, and the magic will flow more easily. And then with that, he turns and leaves you with that sort of cryptic advice. And as he walks away, you slowly see him like his feet meld into the ground. He slowly sort of almost like he's sinking into mud, and he's walking in slowly until just his head is facing, and then it's just gone.
Okay, so are we setting up camp for the night?
It's like morning.
Yeah, it's like 6 a.m.
That's right.
Yeah, we were going back to the caravan and continuing on our way.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to continue my studies as we plod along.
Okay.
Maybe examining this new stone, maybe reading the tome.
And Dubs is still gone, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
For show.
Yeah, so I'll be steering the caravan.
Okay.
Not talking to either of these guys at all.
Okay.
But did you keep my horse, Jim?
Yeah, of course.
He's eating it right now.
I was once inside of you, Josh. What my blood was. It's like,
You have a new advantage. It's called Illuminated, and it is a 10-point advantage. I can't tell you what it does yet, but I can tell you that you have an advantage called Illuminated. It's a 10-point advantage. Yeah. You also have a 50-point disadvantage called Nemesis.
yeah.
And you both have a 25-point disadvantage called Nemesis.
Oh no.
Oh, under disadvantages? Yeah, down. It's permanent. As permanent as it can be.
The doctor. What's left of the doctor's corpse is gonna come after you guys.
Well, it's gonna come after him.
Yeah, it's going to be very.
Then it'll
very
come
very
after.
one.
Then it'll come after.
I'm sorry for killing you, Joe.
I'm cool.
Did you bring her back up or
No.
you don't have
No, I
it?
don't have my backup
Okay.
yet. I'm like, he's
Okay.
like.
I wasn't
half
sure
baked.
because I was not sure at one point you said you sort of like had stuff ready to go.
Yeah, I think he's like half baked, so I just
Okay.
gotta like put finishing touch. What's my like weight limit for him?
It's the same as it is now. I think it's 165.
Okay.
And
I have 20 left over that I didn't use on this character too. Does that?
no, that 165 is counted into that 20. I believe that if we take your character and we add. Well, we can look. We can take a look.
No, so I have 20 points from like when we last upgrade that I never used.
Well, that was the
sitting
20
on-
points that you left with me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still. We're gonna work them into your character.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So make it 165 with 50 points disadvantage.
Okay.
And up to 50. You don't need to take 50.
Oh yeah, no,
but,
that'll be 50.
165, 50 points disadvantage, and then that 20 points I will.
I'll do something.
I already have some ideas, so
Okay.
even though I don't know what your character is yet.
Well, I kind of went over
Yeah.
roughly what
Yeah.
my backup was with you.
All right. So yeah, you're riding the caravan.
Is Gwee still gone?
You open your little box and Gwigwi is actually there. He's in. You don't know how you didn't. You missed seeing him before, or he was gone away somewhere. You don't know. He kind of looks a little bit bigger. Maybe that's just because you miss him, and he you know, you're like it's a trick of the light or something. But yeah, he doesn't really make you very happy. But it's sort of like you're like, okay, well, at least he's there. You know, you feel sort of like I guess the way your character sort of feels is you feel very like your teeth are like clenched and like sort of like set. You know what you feel like you know what you feel more purposeful, but you also feel that like you're going to be, when you win you will die. That's how you feel. You sort of feel like by winning you will completely and utterly be destroyed, and the world will probably burn whether you are successful or not. But at least you will feel like you were successful in what your goal was. You know, you have like a sort of a very tragic destiny that you feel is going to fulfill. At least that's how you feel about it now.
Yeah.
That's sort of like the current like. Yeah. All right. It's a little early. We don't really have to stop now, but I think we might stop a little early if that's okay.
Pretty rounded.
Well, it's just a very. I know it's really early, but like I said, it's a very like sort of. If Josh, if you want to stay and like do some of your character, we can.
Yeah, sure.
Or I just feel like.
That was a pretty natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I know it's short. I don't want to feel like I'm like leaving you guys like in the lurch either, but I'm like sort of. I guess I'm pretty like affected by the whole situation. It was pretty like. Anyway, it felt very very.
Wow, because I've never had this many people be sad about one of my characters.
Very powerful. No, I just felt powerful. No, I just felt like I felt. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't actually.
I think all of you guys are more broken up than I am.
I'm pretty broken up about it. I thought I was just going to be able to like mind control and be like, doctor, snap out of it.
I didn't think anybody got off like that.
It can happen. It just.
Yeah. Well, especially when you're such an evil character when playing with like light and.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, he
that's-
wasn't evil until he committed genocide.
Well, however it happened.
He kind of danced that line a little bit, but when he committed that, I mean, it really put him into the deep end. And I've been sort of like reining that back a little bit, just because we had new people, and I didn't want to like be like, oh no, you're fighting against like PCs, like you can't really do that. So I was kind of like holding it back a little bit, but this was like. We had a chat before the game about like where you wanted to go, and he still wanted to play, but I was just like, this was also like it was too strong of a pull for him to be like. I mean, I think at the end like he had like
17
unholy,
like 3 holy.
Yeah, it's like when you're getting close to like 20 is like I take your character away, regardless of whether you get to 20 on either scope. If you get 20, then you're you're either ascending or you're ascending, you descend. Really, is what it is. So just let you know and let people know that are maybe probably not watching. But
Hi, Kristen.
Wouldn't it be funny if you
well, my friend Pete said that he might watch, but I don't know if he will.
Click this subscribe button, Pete.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. Push that bell button that lets you get notified of any new videos. We'd really appreciate it. No.
Smash that like button, like plus.
Yeah.
Smash it.
Yeah. Let's get 1,500 likes. Anyway.
1,500 likes, and next session we'll all take our pants off.
I'm already not wearing pants. Wait, what? I'll stand up. No. So anyway, so the way that the game works, just because there's like sort of so with GURPS is a universe that lets GMs, anybody create. It's a very flexible system. Like the actual rules that we have, like those books that are the main books, where the hell they went. They don't carry any sort of world. There's no like. This is how the world is, like this Frostpunk world that we were playing, I just made it, right? And all these, and there's other games that I've GM'd in the past that I just make a new world each time. Now there are source books. There's like 40 source books for GURPS that have worlds pre-made, and and often when you play a role-playing game, you'll play with like a GM who is like reading a module, and he'll say, "Oh, walking in this door," and he'll be like, "You are standing in a room. It is 3 feet by 10 feet. There is a pile of dead, rusty rubbish in the corner." And it won't be that bad, but I mean, they're reading something off the thing. They know what's in the room. They know if people search the fireplace, they're going to find a key. Like, it's very scripted, right? I don't like using source books. I just like telling a story, so I don't use any of that stuff. But in this particular world that I've made, there are 2 stats that are holy and unholy. And when you start even though you're Sabbatarian, that has like the ability to use relics. You guys still don't use relics. Well, you've started to use, but I mean, some of these things you can use them like regularly, like all the time, or every time you do an attack. Anyway, you're sort of unawakened, and when something cataclysmic happens of a spiritual nature, good or bad, usually one of those, sometimes both of them, one of those statistics will sort of become enabled in your character. So your character sort of, for the most part, most people get that stat and hold it when they start this game. So by being part of this event, you kind of activated that stat.
Yeah.
And so now sometimes when you're in certain places, you'll be rolling on your holy stat to activate an item that's like a holy relic or to avoid some sort of evil, right? But then if you do something bad or you do something evil, when it's not evil, I mean evil is a very neutral term, right? I mean, yes, I mean you could like steal something or you could do something. I mean, for the most part, a lot of people in this world have, like most, common folk that you meet in the world, they have probably a couple points in unholy. I would think most like rando people that you meet are fairly heartbroken, spiritualists, they're sort of very spiritually dead. They don't really believe in any hope, and they probably have 1 or 2 points of unholy. That just means that they are they're almost neutral, but they might be in that kind of like, if like a demon popped up and said, you're coming with me, they'll be like, all right, like I guess that's my fate. They've already given up. Anyone who aligns with the good side, with the holy side, becomes a beacon of good and attracts those around them that are sort of lost and require leadership and stuff like that. You guys become kind of like those beacons of hope for everyone. And the higher your light becomes, the more easier it is to do certain things, but also the more you shine to the unholy and to demons who are attracted to snuffing out your light. Because they know that potentially you'll have relics or items or objects that they'll be able to take advantage of. So that's more or less where that stat comes from. And so as the game progresses, you might either, and don't be alarmed if that number often goes up and down.
Yeah.
Less so with some people, but like Josh's character ended up at one point having like 10 of light and 10 of dark, and he was kind of like on that. He was like a shadow Jedi, you say, like, so to speak. And like, oh yeah, it's, I mean, any of these things are based on like good and evil, right? Yeah, exactly. Very similar. Very similar.
I'm guessing we won't get to respec for a while.
Why?
Do we get to spend our disadvantage points, or is that just you laying on the significance of what a disadvantage?
No. That's I mean, it just brings your character down. You don't get to spend them. They're not given to you as like now you get to spend them in good. That there's only when you choose them that they get. You can the way that it works is you buy them off.
Okay.
Like usually, like let's say for example you had a disadvantage of laziness. You know, as you played the game, if you were like making like a concerted effort to not be lazy, and you said to the GM like I'm trying my best to buy off my laziness by working on it, then you could potentially eventually, I would say, you know, you've done enough that you can remove it. You don't get the points in any way. You don't get them as a it's only when you're creating the character that the negative affects the positive, and that's why like. I gave you an advantage and a disadvantage. They just got a disadvantage. Your advantage doesn't compensate for the size of your disadvantage, but that's on purpose. That's sort of like the tragic hero. That's like heavy. What is it like? Heavy bears the harder. I don't know what.
I think it's I know what you're trying to say today.
It's like the chain of something. It's like heavy. Oh yeah, it's heavy the head that wears the crown. Yeah, so it's sort of that sort of thing, right? It's like that, like it's only you can bear this overwhelmingly powerful responsibility that is pretty much hopeless, fruitless, and you're like, I'm not gonna win, but. You know in your heart, like, if anyone can at least do their best, it's you. It's your job. No one else can take it away from you. It's sort of like remove the stone of shame, attach the stone of triumph, and it's like twice as big. Right? It's just like it's this tragic hero sort of, you know, a trope, so to speak. And I can tell you that there are other things that are attached to this balance that you don't know of yet, obviously, that are going to build, that will probably magnify both areas depending on how things go. It just all depends on what you do. You haven't really interfaced with anyone since you've gotten these new things. When you do, you will learn a little bit more as to how things go.
So am I gonna be walking around? There's like a demon, and he's like, "Wait, I know you.
Yeah,
You're Jimmy Lockhart."
That's it. That's exactly what's happening.
Inside jokes.
It never ate the doctor.
Thanks for joining us.
Rest in peace, doctor.
Hi.
It's one of the things where you always want to like walk upstairs, turn the lights off, and just like run, you know.
The song of this people. The traditional German ballads.
Do they have a song in German?
I will find it.
Need you. Wonder if I should fall for this guy.
And as you guys drive off into the distance, you see the doctor's silhouette in the sky.
Like the Lion King?
Yeah.